Good morning, everybody. So today we are going to talk about storage entities in action. I'll go ahead and introduce myself. I'm a tech lead for a company called Prologis, and I have been doing Drupal for about 20 years. Been married almost 11 to my lovely bride who came to watch me speak today, and she's actually trying to learn some Drupal too. So I love to cook and explore new places, and I can recite almost all of Dr. Seuss's The Lorax from memory. So what is a storage entity? Taking from the module page itself, we can manage data that should be stored in the database, but only displayed within within an associated or other content. So I like to think of storage entities as something that needs to be in the database that we want to keep over here, and we probably want to show it multiple times and possibly in slightly different ways, but it doesn't need a page. So nodes, we need a page, but a storage entity, we don't. And it's a little different. We'll talk about why it's different than paragraphs as we get a little further into this. It's lighter weight than content types. It's very flexible, completely fieldable, and we'll get into that as well. It's maintained by Martin Anderson Cruz and MXH, and they've both done a lot to really work on this project and share it across a lot of places. It's on over 2,000 websites, around since 2021, and we have the link for it if you want to go there directly. Just really easy /project/storage. So when and why are we going to use storage entity? So content that doesn't need a page. So a really clear example is I don't have a bio page for my blog authors, but I have blog authors that need to be on the bottom of my blog page. We can use it for all sorts of reusable atomic content. I'm going to show examples of using it for a modal system we built so that we can alert people on our pages of different opportunities, and so we reuse those across different pages, but they want to be able to change it in one place. They're really easy to use, and it's a very familiar interface for content editors because we call them on our website. We wanted to come up with a better name for them than storage entities for our editors, so we call them content widgets, but they are edited just like nodes, which makes it very simple for our editors. So I want to talk a little bit about what I mean by atomic content. So atomic content, and if you're familiar with atomic design, it's similar concept. We have reusable content. We change once, we change it everywhere. We have a separation of content from its presentation. So just because we have a blog author doesn't mean we're always going to show that blog author in the same way. We can think of it kind of like media entities, where we have an image, and sometimes that image might be shown with different image styles. Sometimes we might show that image just on a page, or we might show it embedded in content and similar. And one of the things that we are able to do with atomic content is permissions. So, for example, I may not be able to edit everything on the page, but I can edit this piece of atomic content that then gets shared out to other places. So some real world examples. I was talking about the modals and the blog authors. We also use this for logging. So we are doing, we have two kinds of search on our main website, and we're trying to figure out what the winner is of which search is better. And so we needed a robust way to log, and we obviously didn't want to create nodes. So we're actually logging to storage entities. It's completely viewable. We can make views out of it and are able to share that with people who aren't even editors on the site, but just have a stake in understanding our strategy there. So this is our modal example. So we wanted a pop-up on a page, and we needed a way to, we didn't want just the web form because we, in some cases, in this case it is just a web form, but in some cases we actually have a header and a footer on this that our editors can control. So we link to a web form. We display information about the web form. We have functional information like cookie management. So on the back, can't see this here, but we actually have settings that say, like, if somebody already saw a modal, don't show it to them again because they have the already saw a modal cookie. And we have all sorts of configuration management for that. That's more than we could have by just linking to a web form. And it's referenced at a node or a button. And here's, very, very simple example, but we can use modal and reference the modal. And all of our CTA buttons have the ability to reference modals as well, so that these can be reused across the entire site. And you'll see we also have something called a promo banner, and it's the same concept. This is how our editing interface. We did a little bit of CSS to make it so we have tabs, and you can see we have style and triggers, so we can define a trigger so that if you go 50% page depth on the page, or after 5 seconds, or hopefully a few more than 5 seconds, but it'll come up, as well as that cookie management that I was talking about. So here's an example with blog authors. So the storage entity itself has no design, only the content. It's lighter than loading the whole node. Now, if you're going to have a blog author page, you may want a node. This is not like the only solution for doing this, but you also, if your blog author is going to be shown with a list of their blogs, you may want to just make a page out of a view and use arguments to be able to pull that view together. It's reusable across all the blogs and that are referenced to this author, and there was no needed additional additional logic to hide the blog author node. Now, some of you may be familiar with Rabbit Hole, and some people have done that where they have a node and then you use Rabbit Hole, and Rabbit Hole says if you go to this node, we're going to redirect you possibly to a blog listing page or something like that. There are, this is not a unique, the only solution, but it's a really clean solution because now we don't have that page from the beginning to have to do the redirects. So we have, as a just very simple editor interface, exactly what you would expect from a node. So very easy for our editors to use this. So as I said, the interface is just like admin content, and we'll see that in a second. And we've decided to call them content widgets for our editors. Storage entities just wasn't making sense to anybody, so we renamed them. And as you can see, just a very simple view. I want to go back to that logging example because I think it's a little off the beaten path, but it's worked very well for us. We have a need to log a significant amount of data, and we're logging both text and JSON when we do these logs. We save the data in a view, and it can actually also be exported. And we have built our own custom entity. We could have built our own custom entity, but we got a lot for free with this. One of the advantages, we have all of the hooks for, entity save, entity pre-save, all of that, but we didn't have to use them. And because though we do have, for when we save a node, we have all sorts of things that run that take up time and but do necessary tasks for us. With this, we don't have anything that's hooking into that, so it's a lot faster to save than a node. We also did some interesting stuff where we were able to save after the search was completed, so that we're not slowing down our search results to do the logging, but still capturing the data. So I'd like to do a demo. Of course, we're gonna see how live demos go, but I think this should be pretty good. All right. So interesting. My DDev site has lost its content again, so we may start from this happened yesterday, and I thought I had done something wrong, but we may have to start from the beginning. Let's see if we have one piece of storage data, but no content referencing that. So, okay. We will start by looking at storage types, and you can see we have different bundles here. I created a bundle called Bio, and pretty similar to a node edit page. You can see that we can do published. We can create revisions. Yeah. Oh, post to be mirrored. Hold on, sorry. Oh. Why are we not? I lost my. Oh, there it is. Okay. All right. So we have a. I'll go back to structure here, and we have our storage types. As you can see, there are just regular bundles, just like we would have with nodes. And we can go ahead and edit this. Very similar options to what we have with nodes. We also have an option for creating new revisions. So these are not required to be revisions. So we said we would talk about the difference between paragraphs. Paragraphs are harder to do one-to-many associations. They can be done, but a little harder to do. This is really good with one-to-many, and we don't have to revision this. So in my case, I want to do revisions, but you can have entities that have no revisions. So we, like for example, our logging, we don't store revisions, even though technically we actually save that twice sometimes, depending on how the user interacts. So we can create a new revision. We can expose the revision checkbox, which you have to do if you want to show the revision log. And we also can have direct viewing of entities. So from my perspective, part of why you would use storage entities is because you don't want direct viewing, but that is an option that we can enable. So we can also go ahead and manage our fields. So any field that is available in your Drupal instance, this is Drupal 11 straight out of, straight into a DDEV, so there's no additional modules here, but we can add any fields that we want. Field displays, just like we would have with a node. And I installed automatic label because I think it's helpful. Just as an example here, that if we're going to have a bio, we have a first name and a last name, and we save that as our storage entity type. Technically it's a label here, not a title. So if I wanted to add a storage entity, and now we have a storage entity, and since we don't have direct viewing turned on, all we're seeing is our form. And then if I go back to content article, I can add an existing, or bless you. I can add one here and use inline editing. To create another storage entity right on the fly while we do that. And then if we wanted to, we could go into structure and we can go to our content types. Can manage display. And then, for example, we could do the rendered entity. And now we'll have a rendered entity. And of course, we can theme that to be something much nicer as we go. So that is a very simple use case of how to use and edit the storage entities. And let's see if I can get back to there we go. So to tie it all together, the storage entities are light, they're flexible, they're easy to use. They have a familiar interface for editors, and they work with many modules that we already use, and that's one of the big advantage of them as well. So open it up for Q&A. Yeah, absolutely.
I want to make two comments and then
Sure.
questions. So the first comment is, you showed using auto editing label.
Yes.
You should be able to have it actually do those automatically without auto editing label. Again, that's sort of like built in, like for simple patterns like when we showed, you should be able to do that without having that extra module. The same way you don't need radical.
Right.
So anyway, just thought I'd point that out. Also, there is a module, I don't know if you looked into it, called Content Auto Grid. That's kind of meant to provide almost like a DB style listing where you have like a column for every field in your thing, and then it'll actually add a tab to your storage type so that it's like as an admin, if you want to just sort of like quickly go in and see all of your blog offers, you can show those in a nice list. So that might be something we're looking into. And then the question that I had was, if there was like one thing you could change about the storage module to make it better, what would it be?
One thing I would, Wow, I should have a good answer for that. But I'll be honest, for my use cases of it, I have looked at Content Auto Grid. I didn't show that here, but I have used that. But the for my use cases, it's really done what I've needed. I'm interested to play around with it um, to see it do the pattern. I didn't realize I could do the patterns. I had heard that was something that was coming in the future, but maybe I never realized the future came. But yeah, so I'll have to look at that. But really, for my needs, it's done everything. It's done everything we wanted, and it's quicker and more, in my opinion, more maintainable than writing. Because on my site we now have 8 types. So rather 8 or 9 types. So rather than having 8 or 9 custom entities, it's been a real saving grace for us for the amount of code we would have had to write to maintain 8 or 9 custom entities. Is there something? I mean, it seems like you're familiar with it somewhat. Was there something you would want to?
No, I'm just curious as somebody who's clearly using because there's obviously issues and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And if it's one patch would land,
we have not ran for our, and this is our use cases of it. I don't think we've had to patch it at all. We're using entity share pretty heavily right now, and as we were talking about that atomic content, we want to share it across. So we have something we call content stage, and our editors edit in content stage, and then we share all that content. And we haven't ran into any issues with it, not work. I mean, it's been super clean for us. Now there may be somebody's edge case. I'm sure there's a patch out there that they would want, but for this module in particular, it's really covered all our needs for it. Here, why don't we go ahead and pull that? So, yeah, no, it's really helpful for being able to just see your content at a glance. Oh. So we have AutoGrid installed now. So if I remember correctly, we don't have to configure it.
Yeah, it was actually with that. Like it was.
Actually, it's not quite that simple. So let's see. Auto.
technical debt to itself.
So I don't remember how to turn auto grid on for a specific bundle.
I think if you go into the bundle settings, there's a spot where I think the older version would like just as soon as you enable the bundle, it would be
Yeah. Oh, it's right here in front of my eyes. Oh. There we go. So hopefully that was on the recording and not, but I installed the AutoGrid module, and let's see if that. Yes, it's enabled, or appears to be enabled. Let's try and do that and see if that solves our problem. It relies on what?
So if, depending on how you set up for the sort type,
Good point. So let's see, manage display. There is no additional view mode here. Oh, I'm on form display. Yeah, this is the new. This is what did we install here? This is the new beta version of the module. As you mentioned, this did used to. It did just kind of auto create before. So.
It almost created like
Yeah.
area there was like a storage sort of similar.
Yep. Not seeing that. So we can play with that another time. But any other questions I can answer? Well, thank you everybody for your time.